Greetings, sci-fiction awesomeness. My name is Owen C. Cotter, digitally simulcasting on YouTube, X, Twitch, Facebook, and beyond. If you can see and hear me, let me know on the comments below. We're going to activate the comment grid here. Today we have a lot of news to go over, and also we have an amazing guest. Raoul Mongilardi is going to be joining us here shortly. He's got some awesome books and super cool stuff with sci-fi to be talking with us about here shortly in about 9 minutes. I want to go over a few things. I'm going to mute my camera because my signal is choppy for some reason on my end, so I want to be able to show you these screens. Let me show you these screens right quick. We've got Comic-Con coming up on July here, late July, and the 22nd, I believe, the 27th, something like that. We're going to show you the exclusives. We got a ton of exclusive here. This is the San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog, and there is a ton of stuff for all you collectors out there of pop culture goodies. You name it, they've got it. They've got just about everything from Marvel panels, booths, and more. Let's go to the exclusive section here. Let's see where I got this cool blockade runner by Star Wars. It's pretty dope. Boom Studios will be back at booth number. It tells you all the booth numbers too. So booth number 2229. Comic-Con portal, even though it's not a D23 year, it's there's a lot of stuff going on with that. Exclusive signings, exclusive comic books, you name it, they've got it. And pens, lots of pens, vinyl records. They've got, what was this here? They got a it's like a Nickelodeon San Diego exclusive. Random House by Penguins got an exclusive. Monkey Minions San Diego exclusive. Just tons of stuff. This is kind of cool. The Under the Tents, a 2026 X-Men 97 Super 7 thing they've got going on there. Lots and lots of stuff. They've got KRS Comics. Has a very cool new variant, Absolute Catwoman #1. I believe that's Absolute Cat #1. It's going to be a booth number 734. Just insane amount of stuff. Just tons of Kotobukiya, very cool company. I've interviewed them before. They do some amazing sculptures and model figures and things like that. Toy Temple, San Diego. Tons and tons. And the Cell Company, that's Volkweiss's company. Amazing, amazing company. They also do Star Trek toys and collectibles and all kinds of other goodies. It's going to go over a few of these. Got the exclusive news here items on the digital grid. If you're watching this, my name is Owen C. Cotter. I've got my camera muted because we're on full throttle overload on these sequences. So I want to make sure when we bring on our guest, we're going to focus on the guest like as usual. We're hoping to get some new systems online. We're building out some new computer hardware here, which you hopefully are getting some new computer hardware hopefully here shortly. So we'll be working with you on that. And but we've got about probably about 5 minutes till Raoul joins us. I want to go over some of these exclusives. We also, after San Diego Comic-Con, our coverage of the awesome San Diego Comic-Con, we will be down in Las Vegas, Nevada for STLV 60th anniversary of Star Trek goodness. So if you're a Trekkie, a Star Trekkie, Star Trekker, a Star Galactic awesomeness flying through space at warp speed, please join us for our coverage of that awesome event in Las Vegas. I believe that starts Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The first weekend, right before that, too, is this Wednesday and Thursday of the month of August. San Diego Comic-Con is Wednesday, July 22nd through the 26th of Sunday of 2026. So I'll be coming to you from that first. Then a few days later, we'll be coming to you from Las Vegas, Nevada at STLV 60. And then we've got some other events we're going to be doing in late August, one we've never done before, and I'm pretty excited about it. It's the seat of some of the biggest science fiction literature, a little bit of everything down there you'll ever see in your life. So I'm really excited about that. That is coming up later in August. And in September, we're going to take a little break. I'm going to go see a rock and roll concert in that juncture point. But beyond that, we're going to take a little break to focus on live streams. We do have a storefront, a physical brick and mortar and online storefront. And we're going to be doing, as you know, some filming projects and things on the grid that we're piping down into the ecosphere and a lot of other goodies that tie into that, like comics, board games, video games, possibly some books, some other literature, and some other things. So stay tuned on that. It's the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive goodness here. We had a little hiccup with the system. Let me see if this thing stabilizes here. I hope it does. Good. We're going to shut this share and stop sharing this screen here. Looks like I'm beaming in here with all these sparkles. But we've got our guest coming on here shortly. I believe he is in the Quantum Leap waiting room. I'm going to bring him on, kick my camera on for a brief minute, then bring him on before that. So here we go. All right, there's me. I'm there on the screen. You can all see me. Thank you so much for joining us, guests. We see some guests pouring in here. And we're going to activate Raoul. Raoul, can you see and hear me, sir?
I can. Can you see and hear me?
Yes, I can. We're going to bring you on the left side of the screen here. We've got all the galactic goodies, and I'm going to bring your name up here on the screen too. We've got a lot of stuff. We've got full thrusters here on Starship Sci-Fiction going here on all full thrusters. There you are.
Been successfully teleported.
Teleported into the buffer chamber. I hope you materialized correctly. I don't know how to get these sparkles off the screen. It kind of works though, doesn't it?
It seems like I'm all here.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good thing, man. If I'm a little choppy, we've got a whole bunch of programs running here to maintain the system. We're hoping to get some new hardware here soon, which should be able to solve that problem quite quickly on the grid here.
The Aristarian Collective Empire will be able to help you with that. You dropped out. Can't hear you. I can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Now, yeah.
There you are. There you go. All right, we got it. We're good. Awesome. So I was going to say we've got some questions compiled here by me and some from the fans. I want to go over first. Can you introduce yourself and what are you all about, Raoul?
Well, my name is Raoul Peter Mongilardi. I'm an author and screenwriter. I'm a producer, and I've done documentaries. I worked with Sony and Paramount Television for years. I worked at Disney Imagineering for a brief time. I've been creating my own portfolio for the past 6 or 7 years. We have a big project called Next to the Gods, which is on the screen here. 4 novels published. We have an incredible team of people behind it. I'm so honored with that. We're also working with another project with London, which is a Hollywood legacy series. So that's just a little bit about me. And Next to the Gods also has some incredible serendipitous things that you may have researched and that I'd be happy to articulate about.
Well, let's talk about Next to the Gods. One of the first questions we have is the origin of that. What first sparked the idea for that Next to the Gods universe? And when did you realize it was going to become something much bigger than just a single book?
It's great questions. Thank you. So Next to the Gods was, Philip K. Dick once wrote a book where he said, Valis, right? And he said, information was being beamed into the character's head. Well, when I was a kid, it was just like that. I mean, I was watching science fiction, listening to opera, watching movies, classic movies, old Warner Brothers movies, everything. I was a geek, and Next to the Gods started to formulate in my mind. I think when I was around 11 or 12 years old. And interestingly enough, it was always called Next to the Gods. That title just came into my head and stuck. And then it just took many years to write the novels, to figure out the storyline, the arcs, the plot points, and things like that. But mythology, Greek and Roman, Babylonian, Persian mythology, Egyptian mythology did a lot to inspire it.
Yes, and you talk about mythology. I mean, I kind of almost, it's kind of a side pocket, like not really a question, but it reminded me a little bit of kind of the Chariots of the Gods, like ancient astronaut almost theory. What are your thoughts on that whole like motif and all that?
Well, it's very inspiring. And, he was well ahead of his time with this whole, research. And I mean, there are ancient artifacts and ancient paintings and ancient wall carvings that are so clearly almost mechanized in their spacesuits and things that were carved, 20, 30,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago. We have Renaissance art where we see, streaming down from a disc, things that look like science fiction, inspiring saints or
ships, and UFOs and things too, like in the background of these mosaics.
Yeah, there's one very famous, couple of Italian Renaissance paintings that are, if they're not UFOs, I don't know what they are, because normally they would show, a star or a light or some sort of diffusion or something like that. But these are disk-like objects beaming down extremely laser-focused lights. And so, and now, of course, in the UAP, UFO age of disclosure. So my first book, Next to the Gods, book one, When Gods Walk Among Us, came out in 2012. And
Yes.
subsequent to that, you may have heard of Tabby's star was discovered, KIC 86452, and it was an incredibly strange blinking star. And what was odd about it was that the way I described the Dyson sphere's behavior of blinking in my novel perfectly matched Tabby's star. And that led to my appearance on the
For
Discovery.
people that don't know about a Dyson sphere, what is that? How did that come about?
Well, it was first presented, the idea was first presented by Freeman Dyson as a system either of orbiting devices or a solid sphere that you can place around a solar system to collect vast amounts of energy.
Right.
And this was later used by Olaf Stapleton, the early science fiction author genius, in some of his work. It really hasn't appeared very much in Star Trek.
TNG.
There was a Dyson sphere that was used where the Enterprise got trapped inside of it and then had to try to figure out a way out.
That was Relics, I believe, the one with Scotty when he appeared in there, I believe.
Yes, but my Dyson sphere is, or the one that I conceived of, is rather unique in that it has a single portal that's never closed to allow entrance and exit of vehicles, and it's perforated. The entire sphere is perforated because there are three tiny little what we call triune stars or neutron stars in there, and they have to accrete the heat out and the radiation. So every once in a while, the sphere would blow off a huge corona of this, and so it's not always blinking. It's blinking erratically, but it's always sort of blinking at the same thing, which is what Tabby's star is doing. Tabby's star is always blinking at about a 20% fluctuation, which is gigantic.
You're building a universe in your books, and this was an interesting question that we had compiled here, and there's some family ones too as on the back burner. Your series features massive world building and deep lore, like we talked about, kind of like the ancient astronaut theory. How do you keep such an expansive universe organized while still making it accessible for people that are new readers?
It's a very good question. So every author or writer has their own process.
Yeah.
I would use a lot of notes. I would use a lot of treatments, bulleted points, things like that, and then write organically and make it fit. And so with each book, there were some times where I say, well, wait a minute, I can't do that because she died in chapter 3. So you, and sometimes your memory, as you get deeper along into the book, so book one was 2012, book two, The Fate of Worlds, which we just put a new cover on. Thank you for sharing. Was 2014. Book three, Great Is Our Number, came out in 2016, and book four, the final book, only came out this year. Because I had to take a big break from it. And I also wanted to really figure out how the series was really going to wind up, because it evolves over time. I've been writing this for many years, so some things I wanted to keep, and some things I thought needed to be changed.
Yeah, and I was reading and doing some research on you. You sent some information. You've been writing that book for years. Actually, wrote it with a big ballpoint blue pen and had on paper. How was that, keeping that in that motif from standard writing? How was that? And how long have you been writing that by hand?
Well, I'll tell you, it really crippled my hand for a long time. But I started writing these books when I was 16, 17 years old, 15 years old, in notebooks. And, this was in the 70s. So we didn't have computers. We didn't have laptops. We didn't have voice anything. We had no, you could get a tape recorder, but then you'd have to just retype it anyway. So there wasn't any kind of audio recognition or anything. So I had all these blue medium point Bic pens. I used to buy them in lots because they were very dependable and they dried quickly, and I could just stream of consciousness right. So I filled up 73 of these notebooks.
Oh, wow.
And the reason I was doing this also was because at the time, for reasons that will always elude me, my family decided that I should go to a Southern Baptist military school in Virginia.
Okay.
And I went to this dreadful place, and I met some friends there, but it was so anathema to me because there was literally nothing interesting about the place at all. The education level was pitiful and uninspired, and it was just a very depressing time. So I escaped into my music and into my writing. And actually, I'll tell you a quick funny story. I actually sabotaged a varsity basketball game on a Saturday night because we found out, some friends of mine and we had a little TV. One of us had a little TV, right, that their parents had given them.
Okay.
It was in barracks. And so we found out on this Saturday night that War of the Worlds, the original George Powell version, was going to be on TV. And we were determined to watch it. The only problem was when there was a varsity home basketball or football game, the entire cadet corps was required to attend.
Oh.
So we had to figure out, so I actually turned the breakers off in the gym, and I'm happy whoever knows it, too bad. I turned the breakers off in the gym, and I threw the lock away after locking the electrical cabinet door. So they had to start the game.
Wow. So you got to watch the movie though, right? That's the main thing, right?
We got to see the film. Yeah. So that's how it happened. And then, just being in love with the art form, being a filmmaker, being an author, I just continue to write. This Next to the Gods is a 4-book series. I have other books published on the Amazon platform. We're looking at producing Next to the Gods now as a series. And I'm very honored by the team aboard.
Okay. Well, I got to ask, you said you've worked with all these film production companies. What do you think about that being translated from the text into the real life? And what would you like to see them build and like any kind of particular people who want to play roles or anything you'd like to see them kind of flesh that out as a series or maybe movies or more towards a TV series?
Yeah, well, the great thing about Next to the Gods is the IP is so strong. So, with all the chapters and everything, it really is successful as a series, and hopefully a series that would go on for several seasons.
Yes,
we have a great pick of people we want to attach, and some people who already really want to be a part of the project. For example, Sam Asghari, who is a friend of mine, really brilliant talent, very interesting man, and he would be great for the role of Manaya. Also have a friend named Christopher Lam, who is a really fine actor and incredible writer. I think he would be great as Ahijah. My friend Carolyn Hennessy, she's Jenna Talasar. And then we have to fill in the rest of them. But in production, we have people like Patrick Tatopoulos aboard, who is my hero, is one of the greatest, literally one of the greatest science fiction production designers in the world.
So you could have them building the sets and all the structures of all the. Would you do more practical? I mean, a lot of times they do like in stuff like The Mandalorian, they'll use these OLED volumes. And then they'll build the practical sets in front of that.
Well, and exactly. And I think in our world that we're going to look at this as a practical, as practically producible, but not necessarily practical sets. There would be some practical sets, of course, perhaps even some location shooting that might have that. But Next to the Gods in its own, the trouble is when you make world building, you really have to make everything. There are some things you can use. I mean, when George Lucas was doing the later Star Wars films, remember he went to those beautiful places in Lake Como in Italy to shoot those.
Italy, the Italian lake country, lake village, right?
with those beautiful Baroque interiors that matched so beautifully with the planet from which Padme was from.
Naboo or whatever, the Naboo area. Yeah.
And so, but that would be a kind of exceptional for us at this point. I think, with a couple of big sound stages and certainly some practical effects, green screening, as we used to call it in the old days,
Yes.
all of that will make it really beautiful and work wonderfully.
Well, this kind of question is pretty cool. I mean, by the way, have you heard of Dune? They just released the third trailer for the third Dune today. Many readers compare your work to classics like Dune and Foundation. How do you balance real scientific concepts with imaginative storytelling? And science meets imagination is the topic.
Well, that's a really good question. And so I have blended hard science fiction with fantasy. So, I mean,
Yes.
I have dragons that are mostly more related to birds,
Mm-hmm.
the traditional dragons in the Arasarian culture, because I really wanted to have some of that magic of fantasy lore come in, but I really didn't want to make it, wizardry and things, because that's not what we're doing. So some practical knowledge of just basic physics, but a lot of what is in Next to the Gods is literally as figuratively out there as it is dim. I mean, there's no such thing as ornithopters. There's no such thing as melange, and there's no such thing as folding space. But the principles involved are certainly understandable and relatable to anyone. And so in the Next to the Gods universe, that's how I really wanted to fashion each world that would be its own unique world, but would be believable and associable to the reader. So I'm what's called an atmospheric writer.
Oh,
So
I like that. Oh,
I
that's
write.
cool.
I love for people to have a really good picture that I give them of where they are, what it looks like, what it smells like, what it feels like, which also is important in world building.
Yes.
Because sometimes you get lost if you're just wandering around in the dark,
Right.
character-driven situation with what's happening, but you don't. I'm that old school. I'm like, Sam Spiegel was my godfather, and he made Lawrence of Arabia. Well, I mean, can you imagine that film without David Lean's photography? I mean, it just is. It's so iconic and brings you in completely. Or Stanley Kubrick's 2001, in which every single tiny element of every spaceship, of every kind of design, of every suit, costuming, even the furniture is literally created, and remains, I think, one of the most amazing.
Like the end of that film I was researching the other day is like he goes and meets like interdimensional like gods that pull him into that starport. Somebody said that when he says the words, "My God, it's full of stars," he's talking about the stars on Hollywood Boulevard. I don't know what that means about that, but I thought that was kind of cool.
Well, I mean,
Interdimensional beings.
I think somebody was having a couple mojitos when they made that kind of
Probably so,
interpretation.
dude.
I pretty much think that what he meant was when he's pulling into the obelisk and he goes into the interdimensional space, he realizes that it's a cosmic interdimensional place, and that's why hence
he ends up in some kind of an area where he can see himself old and another dimension of sorts. So
right.
And you mentioned creating characters in your books. This particular question is about creating memorable characters. When you create a character, do they usually come to you first, or does the world come first and the characters naturally grow into the world, into it?
Sometimes the story will drive the necessity of a character. A lot of times, though, the characters have formulated in my mind first and are driving the story. Aside from the ultimate mythology of the story, like this is what we want to do and this is where we want to go, and then populating it with the appropriate characters has been the way I've done it. When I finished book 4, I really cried.
Yeah.
Because it was living with them for so long.
Hundreds of years, by the way. These aliens, yeah.
Yeah, they were on that stage in those costumes for decades, and then finally it's like a show closing. You get very emotional because you may never see that film family again, or that stage family again. You become a family when you're doing it. You certainly do when you love these characters. So a lot of them, some of them are combinations of people, of historical people, of people that I know, of whatever,
Okay.
making them who is, for example, the funny character or the comic relief character, who is the very serious, who is the, I don't like to have just evil, menacing. I believe in the anti-hero.
Mhm.
There's a very important anti-hero in Next to Gods called Kalon, who
Okay.
ultimately is a traitor, but his belief systems are impeccably his own and well argued, so that it's not really. I also like to play with language. So
Okay.
the character Arhanis Talasar, who is the leader of the Talasar dynasty of the Arsarians, the priest emperor of them. So Arhanis is our highness,
Hmm.
right? Monaya, his brother and the first lord, and one of the most through line heroes of the story, is my Messiah,
Okay.
right? And so I wanted to just play with sort of like uh, those kind of names. People are always telling me they love the names of the
Yeah,
characters.
they're cool names. When I was looking at the due diligence, what's
Thank
and you talk about the storytelling, the themes behind the story. Your series explores humanity. You mentioned mythology and advanced civilizations. Is there a central message or question that you
you.
hope readers to take away from the finishing all the books?
There's a lot. I I'm talking about super evolution,
Hmm.
evolving of our consciousness, of our physical being, of of the fact that nature can create so many miracles. I mean, look at the life of study anthropological or biological life on the Earth. The variety is incredible, and
Hmm.
the way animals can adapt or change, even change their sexuality to suit their population.
Yep.
Um, it's miraculous. And so, in Next to the Gods, I wanted it really to be that kind of heroic story where there is this wonderful, benevolent, really cool alien civilization. They're not coming here to conquer us. They're not coming
Right.
here to drink our blood. They're not coming here to uh, take our resources because they don't need them and they wouldn't anyway.
Right.
But they have a more mandate from their gods, from their immortal entities, as to
Right.
why they need to come here. But they are also bringing their own baggage.
Hmm.
We don't necessarily see that at first. We see them as they come as, oh, how marvelous, they're beautiful, it's wonderful, look at them, they're helping with
Right.
clean energy, with hygiene, with education, with technology, with all this stuff. But the rub is that they're bringing something very, very dangerous with them that they don't want to deal with, but that
Right.
eventually comes up through their generations and gets stronger and stronger and stronger. So we have that's the driving force of conflict.
Right. Without just spoiling anything, looking ahead, where do you see the Next to the God saga heading over the next few books? If there's going to be more books, I guess there will be. Or
And as far as I'm concerned, the series is closed.
okay.
The four books really take it from a firm beginning to a firm closure. Although the ending does leave, book four does leave a slim room for sort of a cliffhanger. But I've always believed that when you start and finish something, that for audience satisfaction, after staying with you all that time, there needs to be some sort of firm payoff.
Right.
I go through hundreds and thousands of pages of manuscript and go, what are you talking about? There's, question mark, So I think that's a cheat to the audience.
Right.
But the way this story is crafted, because it's going from generation to generation to generation, um,
Hmm.
I didn't want to end it with catastrophe. You know, So so there is that natural thing, uh, evolving mechanism of the story arc built in there. But now the 4 books are done. There's some scripts and treatments and decks and all kinds of promotional materials, teasers that have been created really by extraordinary people. Wonderful. We're so blessed to have them. And so now the idea is to really, we're going to seriously start up the marketing. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I need to get an audiobook out. It's way overdue. So
Oh,
I
that'd be cool. Yeah.
want to get an audiobook out of book 1 first of all. And then we were going to pitch it as a series, definitely starting in, I think, August or September. But there's a hell of a team involved now.
That's
So,
good. That's really good. We've got a question here. It's kind of a bonus question. I figured it kind of ties in what you're talking about. SciFiction, our platform, is all about envisioning a positive future. When readers finish your series, what like feeling or hope do you want them to carry with them into the real world?
oh, I love that question. I want them to take wonder. I want them to take wonder and enjoy it. This is
Okay.
one of the main reasons why Steven Spielberg is my absolute hero.
He's good, that's for
Only
sure.
because he's an iconic, great, but the wonder that he brings, you
Yes.
know, uh, Close Encounters was all
Mhm.
about wonder, not horror, not destruction, not horror, not magic. I mean, the most brutal thing he made was War of the Worlds, but it was so magnificently done, um, and it worked because that is a threatening story,
Mhm.
and so not to do it in that way would not work, but still magnificent. But I want wonder. I want them to come away from Next to the Gods either reading it, um,
Mhm.
or hopefully someday soon watching it and feel elevated and feel thrilled. And also, one of the things that I love is that my readers really love my plot twists.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I had somebody recently say to me, "Wow, I just finally finished book 3, and watch out, man! I had no idea that that was going to happen with Emily and Mamiah. I did not see that coming." Um,
That's positive when you hear that from the readers. That's
oh,
really good. That's really good. I have it.
that's,
Let's flip the coin over.
well, and this
This
was
next
a
question.
person.
Go ahead.
Sorry, but I just wanted to say this was a person also who normally doesn't read science fiction ever.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So
Wow.
yeah, that hit nicely. I'm sorry, I walked on your
Oh,
question.
you're good. You're good. I didn't know. I'm glad that you told me that. I did not know that they were not a science fiction avid reader. That's interesting. Advice for writers for aspiring science fiction authors watching today. What's one lesson you've learned that you wish someone had told you when you first started writing?
Oh, that's another great question. Um, the advice would be, um, just do it. Don't
Okay.
pay attention to anyone telling you no. No spelled backward is on. There is
Yeah,
no.
it is.
It's like when I worked in film production, no was a word you just didn't, you didn't even know it. Somebody asked you to do something, you'd be like flying in. There is no, there is no, I can't find it. There is no, I don't know what I'm doing. So it's the same thing. Just open up the Word document or this or the final draft document, whatever you're working on, whatever it is, Grammarly, whatever writing program you're comfortable with, and write
Right.
it. And don't worry about spelling, and don't worry about grammar, and don't worry about anyone looking over your shoulder or showing it to anybody until you're happy with it, and write it because you are passionate to write it because you want to. Um,
Right.
I'll tell you something that Frank Herbert told me when I was fortunate enough to meet him many years ago. And I said, I'm reading Dune, and this before any of the books came, I mean, the movies came out, obviously. And I said, I've been reading Dune and love it. It's so inspirational to me. And he said, well, what are you doing? And I said, I'm writing Next to the Gods. And he goes, that's a great title. Never change it. And don't let any blank, blank editor tell you to do it. And by the way, don't listen to a thing they say.
That's really good. And that's from Frank Herbert, the creator of Dune. Wow.
And it's the same thing as really any artistic mentor who I've ever known has always said, if you don't do it, and you don't believe it, it's not going to happen. It's like when you're an actor, you can go out and do melodramatic acting, which nobody does anymore unless
Right.
it's a farce.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't believe it, if you don't inhabit it
Yeah.
and be that person, then the people watching you are saying, I'm not, and they turn the channel because they're not connecting with your just, as they say, phoning it in. So if you're
Right.
not writing, the other thing, the three things that I live by in writing Next to the Gods were, you can make it as complex as you want as long as it's absolutely clear.
Yeah.
Suspense, suspense, suspense. And the third one is the minute that you get tired, they will.
Right. True.
Writing tired and you're pushing and pushing and pushing, like I'm just going to do another 2 pages but I'm exhausted. No, stop right there.
Right.
Because that tiredness is going to come through either your performance or your writing style.
This is a fun fan question here. If you could spend one day inside the Next to the Gods universe, which location would you visit first, and would you actually survive it?
What a magnificent question. Wow. It's a toss-up.
Okay.
There's two. I would either want to spend a day in the palace of Mephistia
Hmm.
with the court of the Talisar
Okay.
on Earth, or I would want to be in Arasaria in the Dyson Sphere in those worlds.
Wow,
And
that's
yes,
cool.
I'd survive both of them. They're not
Nice. Well,
possible.
you always want to survive your environment, of course.
Yeah.
Well, you got, I mean, this is a beautiful world building. You mentioned it has aspects of fantasy and sci-fi. I got to ask, what were some of your favorite, fantasy and sci-fi, movies or TV series or books, even though growing up that kind of really didn't just inspire with this, but like something you really, really enjoyed?
Hmm. Uh, Another great question. So Jules Verne, H.G.
Okay.
Wells, um, Isaac Asimov, Ray Bradbury, um, also Mary Renault, who was the great author of dramatized Hellenic ancient Greek stories.
Okay.
Nobody knows about her anymore. She wrote The Persian Boy, The Mask of Apollo.
Okay.
Um, uh,
I'm Greek, so I mean, I've heard some of these before. My grandmother and they came over straight from Ellis Island from Greece, so it's
just,
very interesting.
they're magnificent books, and they literally the writing is so you're captivated like that, and she takes you in, and she was also so extremely well educated about that culture that she was able to write it in a way that is extraordinarily accurate.
Okay.
Gore Vidal, his historical works. So a mixture of straight out science fiction and fantasy, and also history. And of course, music. Music is inspiring me all the time. I wrote every bit of Next to the Gods, inspired by Puccini, Verdi, Richard Wagner, Johannes Brahms, Gustav Mahler, and also, yes, and Emerson, Lake and Palmer,
Okay.
and some other really like big dreamy. Remember our big dreamy orchestra, or what we call fantasy rock in those days.
Fantasy rock. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's cool.
it was always fun to tune out a little bit and just let the imagination go with that. And sometimes the music itself would inspire whole elements of
Mhm.
where I wanted to go
Yeah.
with Next to the Gods.
One of your characters actually speaks in music or something like that in the book, right? Or am I imagining that? Or?
Well, no, the Wizan, who are the keepers of the Osselines. The Osselines are large dragon-like birds,
Right.
and so they speak with them with a musical language. And what they call it is, if you're a Wizan waiting,
Mhm.
you already know the language. You just have to learn how to do it.
Mm. Okay.
And
Cool.
if you can't do that, then you can't do it. And what I did was, because the pipe organ is one of my favorite instruments, the Walt Disney Concert
Mhm.
Hall organ is right behind me. I did a
Oh,
documentary
there
about
it
it.
is. Yeah. Wow.
So one of the things I do with the names in the books that some people commented on and got was that some of the dragons or the oscillines are named after organ pipes like Crestant, Monterey. Those are
Nice.
stops on an organ
Very
because
cool.
they speak that way. And one of our producers said, wow, it's really cool. So when we do the series, when those oscillines are speaking, we should have those organ pipes speaking with that. So they have this sound, the high sound, the low sound, the trumpet sound, whatever, which I thought would be really, really.
So that's like the linguistics factor in using music to like kind of the talk and everything. That's really interesting. Wow. I got to ask some other questions here. These are all the questions we burned out those. So these are like going to be some creative questions that I'm going to come up with here. Your series is fantasy based, science fiction based. We talked about the ancient astronauts theories. Technology over the last 200 years, not 150 years, advanced so far. Now we're kind of living in almost like a beginnings of a science fiction esque world. If you were to have any technology you want to see based now, it's either starting to become reality or something that hasn't even been created. What would that be you'd like to see, and then hopefully use for positive, or what would you like to see happen in the next maybe 5, 10 years?
If possible, I would love to have the Arcerian molecular motion clean energy. Um, and if I could, have it start at the Industrial Revolution so we wouldn't be in the situation that we're in now. I think it was Einstein who in the 40s said, if we don't stop now,
Mm-hmm.
like right now, we're not going to. And of course, we haven't. We're continuing to just pump out more and more because it's a vicious cycle. What are you going to do when there are 6 billion automobiles on Earth? You can't just get rid of them and stop them. All societies would collapse. So it's like a vicious circle. You don't want to have war, but when somebody attacks you, you have to fight back. So it's part of
Right.
our human dilemma of what do we actually do about these things. But I would love that because I think if that could have been introduced early on, which in my utopian rewriting of alternate history, that's exactly what I have happen. The Arcerians come to Earth in our early Middle Ages, and they stop all of that disease, all of that war, all of that vermin, all of that bloodletting, brutality, and also bring incredible hygiene
Froze up.
and clean energy that transforms our world.
Which brings up, you talk about alternate histories, and do you believe there might be some way we could ever, or it maybe even exist parallel or alternate universes? That's always a cool concept in sci-fi.
Yes, and right now, I mean, there's a lot of discussion about UAP and UFO disclosure and visitation, which actually puts forward that very theory that a lot of what we're seeing is interdimensional travel, which could also be
Yes.
that interdimensional time travel, because by its very definition, if it's interdimensional, it would be working in juxtaposition with the
Hmm.
laws of physical space as we know them. So
Right.
time could be dilated or mutated or transformed
Right.
or or somehow altered. So yeah, it's very possible. I think we have what we call now the bubble universe
Hmm.
concept, which is that as far as we can see in the known universe, which is what 5 trillion light years or something.
Something like that.
Um, that outside of that, beyond which we can't see right now, it's postulated that there's just another bubble and another universe and another universe.
Mm.
And another universe. I don't believe in, what's that old song? Nothing from nothing, it means nothing or whatever. I can't remember. It's an old
Heard of it.
blues song or whatever, pop song. But I've always had trouble with the concept of the Big Bang. Um, to me, there's something extraordinarily unstable and wasteful about the Big Bang theory. It seems to be extremely convenient that all of a
It's like
sudden there's
it's a creative way they came up with to explain how the whole thing was created, basically.
right, and there's this tiny little thing that suddenly explodes and keeps expanding and expanding and expanding.
Yeah.
And eventually it will stop expanding and it will collapse and it will cool and everything will burn out.
Right.
I think is a very forlorn, kind of scary, um, not actually well thought through. And I'm sure I'm going to get physicists or people on me now saying, "Oh, you don't know
Well,
what you're
it's all
talking."
good. This is cool stuff. Our fans are loving this too.
Yeah, that that it just seems such a waste.
Yeah.
Nature abhors a vacuum and abhors a waste, as Mr. Spock so famously said.
It's true.
Yeah.
This is very true.
And
It's 60 years of Star Trek this year too, by the way.
yeah, yeah. My friend John Ottman, the brilliant composer and
Yes.
Academy Award-winning gentleman who's also aboard our Next to the Gods team,
Okay.
he and I are geeks for Star Trek One, the motion picture. We
Oh, it's
love
a great
that.
movie.
We love that film. Yeah.
Do you think, like, speaking, I was talking about another dude recently, a buddy of mine, and several other people we had on the show, I think one a few weeks ago, V'ger. Yes, yeah, V'ger. Do you think that that had anything to do with the Borg? And better yet, question: who created the Borg? I mean, where do you think that? Do you think that ties in that fan theory or any of that?
Who knows? Um, I always thought that the V'ger concept in itself as being such a vast ship that
Yeah,
it achieved consciousness and came from the machine planet
yeah,
um, was such a great thing
very
um,
cool.
that I could never, I wouldn't necessarily associate that with the Borg because there was nothing really in V'ger that was ever out to destroy anything.
If
You know,
anything, V'ger would assimilate the Borg the other way around.
yeah, I would think it would have because certainly in the in the V'ger experience that we had with it, it was just assimilating, it was just data reading everything without any kind of emotional or strategy at all. It was simply trying to find the creator.
Right.
And the marvelous thing about that is that once it did it in this most marvelous way that created an entirely new life form. It's one of the great science fiction movies that has absolutely no violence, blood, destruction, gore, or anything. The only terrifying scene in it, really, which is really smart that they addressed it, was the transporter malfunction scene.
Yes, and actually, a buddy of mine actually did the animations for that. Philo Barnhart did when they distorted and like the guy on the other end's like, "What we got back didn't live long." He did all that. Hmm.
Fortunately, yeah, and
Fortunately,
because
fortunately,
yeah, because it was always something, that anybody and the character Bones was always saying, it's spreading a man's
yes.
molecules all over the universe. I'm not going to do it. And of course, anybody with any sense would also. I mean, I always used to think of, even as a kid, I'd think, ooh, I'd
Mhm.
rather take the shuttle.
Right, right.
I want
I
to.
read something interesting. Speaking of Star Trek, this is kind of getting into the UAP zone, parallel universe zone, stuff like all the goodies. There's a book that's here in the due diligence called The Only Planet of Choice Essential Beings from Deep Space, which purports to be a recording of channeling of Phyllis Schimmer. Supposedly, Gene Roddenberry attended some of the sessions and participated. From what is in the book, he has nothing directly to Star Trek, but they're saying they might have communed with the Council of Nine. I'm not exactly sure. Do you know anything about that or what that is? Or because he has lots of Deep Space Nine, Seven of Nine, 999.
Really interesting. I don't know, but
Now maybe there was aliens. I don't know what I saw that on a fan theory. I'll bring that up right now. It's on Cora. There's a lot of it's been brought up before, and people that are hardcore Trekkies have brought this up. Let me bring this up on the screen. So
well, it's interesting that the number nine and nine and seven
I
of
thought that
nine
was very interesting.
keeps.
The Council of Nine. They say they're like some kind of extraterrestrial aliens or something. I don't know. I thought that was very interesting. That popped up again over the last few
Yeah, I see that.
months.
I'll
Yeah.
have to check that out. I mean, truth is so much stranger than fiction. In
Mhm.
what we're learning things about the universe and the cosmos every year that are just extraordinary. Which is one of the reasons why, with Next to Gods, we also want to make a gaming platform that will be very unique.
Oh, cool. What are you going to do with that? Like multiplayer online or?
We want to have. I'm not sure how exactly it will work. my concept is that exploring the worlds of the next to the gods universe, right? The player, you can be an Osceline, you can be a character, you can go to the
Oh, cool.
spirit worlds, you can go to Earth, you can go to the terraform planet Mars, you can see how things are working there. You can go to the planet Celosia or the gas giant Exilu and look at
Right.
the Exiluans and have all those things. Or you can go into the Dyson sphere. And so what I want to do is also make it so that the player, especially for kids who might say, well, like you said, well, what is a Dyson sphere? So that you
Right.
could easily click on it and clack, a little window would come over to the side and it would show you a little animation of a Dyson sphere and tell you what it is and then
Yeah,
go away.
that's
You
cool.
know, what does he mean by atmospheric pressure? You know, zip, here comes a little barometric thing. Atmospheric pressure on different worlds is different, and goes away. So that as you're traversing through as a player in this universe, you're also tapping into firm educational resources like NASA or other places that would help. You know, because kids get things so quickly, and of course, even adults who may not know about it, same thing, can enjoy a little bit of a distraction. But no long-winded, protracted things. Just little windows that would pop up and give you a simple bulleted um, answer.
Would you have consultants like from any of these organizations, like you mentioned NASA, or anybody like that you'd like maybe to bring on board? And I have a follow up question with that pertaining to Carl Sagan.
Yes, yes. The answer is yes. Yeah, because we
The
certainly want to have the people who actually have the empirical knowledge to provide those platform databases. Yeah.
Carl Sagan, I believe, had talked about different forms of life, and one of your forms of life is gaseous forms. Do you think that could be possible, or the forms like that?
Well, look at look at jellyfish.
Yeah, and the jellyfish one too. Yeah, yeah.
Jellyfish. You know, I mean, if you and I were to be able to go and walk on the bottom of the ocean right now, of course, we would be crushed to pieces.
The
But
pressure of the
because it is an alien world, we know more about space than we still know about the Mariana Trench.
yeah,
Um, and So the life forms in the deep ocean. I mean, remember the movie The Abyss
of
with the
course. With Ed Harris, yeah.
like jellyfish with the glowing. Somebody must have
Great film, by the way. If you haven't checked it out, you got to check it out. It's a good film.
reading oceanographic research to do that because you can look at glowing jellyfish sprites with iridescent lights in them, everything. Look at an anglerfish that looks like a monster with that gigantic thing hanging up. It's the scariest thing you've ever seen. I mean, there are we're already living in two different worlds. We actually have three worlds. We have the air. We have the world. The Earth. Gaia is alive on Earth, in the air, and in the sea.
Right.
And so, yeah, the Exilu were easy for me to extrapolate because I wanted to have one of the things in Next to the Gods is that the creation energy is so vast that in the beginning it doesn't just create the Arisarians, it fans out into space.
Okay.
And that's how we get made, and that's how the Exilu get made. But the Exilu are born, their life, their biological tissue comes together in a Jovian massive planet like Jupiter. So they don't form like we do. They form in jellyfish. But
Wow,
they're
that's
highly intelligent. They're also very paranoid because anything sharp around them is like, no, no, no.
right. Right. So that's like their weakness or their kryptonite, rather. The speaking of like Cameron and like the Abyss, he actually took subs and went down to the bottom of the Marianas Trench and like kind of explored. I think there's a documentary on that, like something Aliens of the Deep or something like that. Have you seen that?
That's right. And that's what you see in
Yeah.
in the film. I mean, he's just tailoring it to this wonderful adventure story.
Yeah.
Um,
Was he strapped like was it a Rolex deep sea to the back of the side of the sub and it came up and it was still ticking? That's insane.
I,
Human ingenuity on that.
I, yeah, I remember something about that. Yeah, that the Rolex had survived. What was it?
Yep, like
Just
some pressure stepped or something
yeah.
like that at the bottom of the trench. Because my
Well,
buddy Michael had mentioned that to me. He's a diver. So.
as expensive as they are, I mean, they damn well should.
No, this watch, I got the hold one about 6 months ago. And I'm talking, I love Rolex, but dude, that thing is built like a tank. I mean, Submariner, great. This thing's built, I can see why it would be able to survive the bottom of the trench. I mean, this thing's insane, but they're
Yeah, when
quite
you
pricey.
in your wrist, they really, I mean,
They're
you
heavy.
like wearing a wrist weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially the old ones. They're like tanks. They're like
Yeah.
I drive a classic car. I drive a 1984 Mercedes 500 SEC, the big
Nice.
coupe. I wish I could give it a social security number, um, but she's just indestructible. I mean, I had the engine done recently. I mean, it's just all analog technology, and it's powerful and vast. Several years ago, somebody hit me from behind. I just literally went like this, and I turned around, and the whole front end of their car was completely collapsed. And my car was like, well, you know, whatever. Somebody tried to bother me, and you know,
See, I mean, that's the thing. Like older technology's built like a tank. I mean, like, and even just stuff like ingenuity, because, like, the Rolex is built like Swiss made. But matter of fact, that's actually a charity foundation. Rolex, the entire thing is a charity. I
oh,
found
it
that
is.
out.
No,
Yeah, interesting how they've structured that out. But
yeah.
they're hand artisans. They make different watches. Of course, I'm fascinated by time and timepieces and all that. It's one of my interests. But yeah, the trench was interesting to see that how a piece of human ingenuity could survive the depths of like that deep of a pressure and all
Well,
that underwater.
this was all first explored by Jacques Cousteau so famously
Yes.
in the 70s. But it's interesting that you mentioned timepieces also because um, in the Arsarian world,
Mhm.
there is a machine called the Calamron, which you might
Okay.
find interesting. And it's at the heart of the primary planet, which is in the central, so all of the worlds within the Dyson sphere are controlled, their orbits are controlled by the Calamron, which is this
Hmm.
it's in a huge cavern underneath the central planet. And so the reason they're using the central planet is so that they can keep the moons and all the planets without having collisionary orbits. And
Okay.
the, there was a guild of ecobiosynthesis engineers called the Quatrell, which
Okay.
their sole thing is to make sure that the Calamron does not malfunction.
Oh wow, that
Sort of,
reminded me of this right here. I'm going to bring this on the screen. So there is a company, and it kind of sounds like revolving. It's, of course, the machine that you just brought up kind of created the Dyson sphere that kind of controls the timing of all that. Have you heard of this watch here? I saw this the other day and I was like, this is insane. So I'm going to bring this on the screen here. Get it on the screen. See if we can get it. Stop sharing that. Can you see it?
I don't see it. Oh, wait, now I see you.
There's me. See if I can get it. Let me stop sharing this one and bring this one up. Here we go. We're going to bring this. This is really cool. Right here. Here it is. Should pop in there.
Oh,
Yeah. Have you seen that thing? It's like it's space inside of a watch. I thought that was really cool.
it's really
You
great.
got like the galaxies and all this stuff moving around, this zodiac and all the planets and all that jazz. I was like, man, that's insane.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
thought it was like
beautiful
it's a piece of art, basically fine art and a watch. I thought it was really cool too. But yeah, that's really interesting. I didn't know that about the thing that controls all the Dyson sphere stuff. That's interesting. We're gonna wrap up here. I gotta ask, where do people find out about your work? We've got a website here. Is nexttothegods.com the best place or
Yeah, I mean, because it has links to all four of the books on Amazon.
okay?
Just my name and Next to the Gods on Amazon will bring you to all four of the books.
Okay.
Uh, and yeah, and of course, we also have a Facebook page dedicated to Next to the Gods.
Okay.
Want to just thank you for the cover. The new cover art for Next to the Gods Book 2 is done by the incomparable Tahani Farr, the great
Okay.
fantasy artist. And the background was designed by Arash Johani.
Okay.
But she really is, if you don't know her work, she's one of the great fantasy artists that we have
Beautiful.
today. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you, Raoul, for joining us on today's show. And everybody, check out nexttothegods.com. The fans are eating this up. This is awesome, man. I want to hope you have a beautiful day, and I will see you hopefully soon when you get the TV show. I'd like to have you back, man.
Thank you, sir. Thank you
All
very
right.
much. It's been great. Thank
You
you,
too.
everybody. Have a
Thank you,
great
fans.
great
Have a
weekend.
great weekend, too. Peace, man.